So they just lie to you at every turn. They tell you that the ocean is full of uranium-238, but that's natural. And that's how they done this. And the uranium-238 left over, which is a yellow cake, and used in weapons, at 2.5 million rounds a month in Iraq and Afghanistan for 9 years. They were firing 5 million rounds, half of them, every month to get 11,000 Taliban. They raped their own 29,000 times a year for a decade to get those 11,000 Taliban. They raped 29,000 of their own soldiers. They're raping their own that much. How much are they raping in the countries they're occupying?
Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. This really makes me mad. Top officials, women should be required to register for the draft. This is evidently a man who doesn't think that women should get equal pay for equal work, and probably feels that women who are asking for equal pay for equal work should also be equally drafted. How many wars were ever started by a woman? I can't think of any, can you? We bear their children, we raise their children, nurse them back to health, patch them up. Generally, women do not have the muscle mass like the men do. We resort to using our brains instead of brawn to settle arguments. If any woman wants to join the draft, they should be allowed to join the draft. Before making it mandatory that women are drafted, they should do more about the number of women that are raped while in the military and it's covered up. During today's Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on women in combat, 2 top generals said that women should be required to register for the selective service, along with men, as the branches begin to integrate women into combat roles.
You got 22 veterans committing suicide on the streets every day to get 11,000 Taliban. You got 5 million orphans in Afghanistan to get 11,000 Taliban. You use up 27% of the energy and everything on the planet to get 11,000 Taliban. You bankrupt, destroyed country after country after country to get 11,000 Taliban. You took away all your freedom. They grow up almost 1 billion in you every year at your airports to get 11,000 Taliban. Gotta have a boogeyman. And they created the Taliban to help overthrow Saddam Hussein. They pushed the Russians out, right to Mujahideen. Didn't you? Taliban was your friends. You were supporting, giving them weapons, like you are now in Syria and Lebanon, which has all the Palestinian refugees that have been wandering for 63 years, 5 million of them. And then you have Japan. But all of this to keep you off balance, and at the same time, we got to have directed energy weapons. Because Russia's going to get them. China's going to get them. We got to get them. France is going to get them. And where we're going to end up at this, where we're going to end up by creating all these directed energy weapons, and not even accounting for where all the waste from all that goes, all those radioactive isotopes. Don't think they're depleted, okay? They're just no good for the lasers. They're like the yellow cake is no good for nuclear production. They only can withdraw like 0.8% of a percent. The rest of it turns into uranium-238. Oh, Dana, uranium-238 is harmless. The ocean is full of it. Yeah. They raped their own 29,000 times a year for a decade to get those 11,000 Taliban. They raped 29,000 of their own soldiers. They're raping their own that much. How much are they raping in the countries they're occupying? You got 22 veterans committing suicide on the streets every day to get 11,000 Taliban. You got 5 million orphans in Afghanistan to get 11,000 Taliban. They raped their own 29,000 times a year for a decade to get those 11,000 Taliban. They raped 29,000 of their own soldiers. They're raping their own that much. How much are they raping in the countries they're occupying? And you raped 29,000 of their own soldiers. And you raped 29,000 of their own soldiers. 29,000 times a year for a decade.
Deep inside, every human in the world knows something's not right, but doesn't know exactly what it is, or chooses to ignore it. Maybe it will go away. It won't.
Destruction comes because God said so. And why is it coming? It's because we are a rebellious, We are a reprobate, we are a hypocritical, sinful, slimy, squeezing nation that spout the word God and we don't mean it. We don't love the Lord at all. We love ourselves, we love our money, we love our materials, we love our mechanisms, but we don't love God. We only say we do, but in reality and in practice we don't. We don't worship Him. The church don't worship Him, the state, or the families. They don't worship God the way God deserves to be worshipped. It's only lip service and not heart service. And that's why more destruction is coming.
Would you notice? Or for that matter, would you care? Nah, you're too busy listening to some guy in a tie and sleep.
I'll be the first to admit, I'm happy.
I just spoke to my supervisor. He told me you can do that here.
Oh.
Fallen is barren. She has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean and detestable beast. For all nations have drunk the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality, and the kings of the earth have committed immorality with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich from the power of her luxurious living. Then I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, lest you take part in her sins, lest you share in her plagues for her sins."
And so, but this war is going to go on for another 30 years. We're going to go into maybe 60 countries or so. We're going to be drafting all the goyim here soon. The men, the women. The women, they don't want to sit home and have families anyway. They'd rather have a career. That's a nice, exciting thing for a woman to put on a green suit and go over there and shoot people and get shot at. Must be exciting to them. So, we're making a lot of money.
You know, this is very interesting. Well, Rabbi Finkelstein, it's really good talking to you, and I'm sure the listening audience here on the Turner Radio Network is listening very intently, because a lot of things have been a little exposed, some more exposed than others. But, you know, at least you're coming out and you're telling the truth. And, you know, you state, you know, we got $300 billion tied up in Iraq with interest. And what's 1,700 to 3,000 dead bodies compared to how much money you made?
Well, but you got to thin out the herd once in a while. Otherwise, the herds get too big. And if the herds get too big, they eat up all the resources. So you got to thin out the herd once in a while. We call it a theater of war, because it's amusing to us Jews to see our two biggest enemies, the white race and the Arab race, the seed of the woman. It's amusing to us to see them kill each other, and we make a lot of money off it. Believe me, I've had a lot of laughs at the synagogue with that.